Do you hear them? Their footsteps. Do you hear them? Heartbeats. For a moment, do you hear them? We celebrate Veterans Day for a few moments, minutes, a few seconds of silence, and then the country's life goes on. President Kennedy stated, "It is appropriate that we recall this occasion and on every other moment when we are faced with great responsibilities, the contribution and sacrifice which so many men and women and their families have made in order to permit this country to now occupy its present position of responsibility and freedom." For weeks now, when I was first told, "Hey, Hutch, can you come down and say a few words?" I was so excited to come to Gallipolis, this village, a community. That's what we're all about. Do you hear them? I just knew there would be house after house, business after business, with flags of crimson red, angel white, and gallant blue, our stars and stripes I would see. I was surely not disappointed. Do you see them? If you can, for a moment, take your right hand and place it on the shoulder of the person next to you, or the person in front of you. Imagine now, every day, you too walk with heroes. Thank you. Do you feel them? We gather today in remembrance of the noble men and women of our armed forces who throughout our history have sacrificed their lives so that we may live in freedom. But you already know this. Do you hear them? We join together in deepest gratitude and appreciation for what they have provided us. We mourn them in death, but in turn, we are grateful for their lives. We gather also conscious of the fact that in paying tribute to our fallen, we recognize and celebrate greatness. When we think of their place in history, we think inevitably of the days of battles past, and we think of the magnitude of their achievements and understand the qualities of greatness and what theirs were that has earned them a permanent place within our hearts and deserved of everlasting admiration. They remind us of why we fight, and they inspire us to protect the values, the ideals, and the freedoms that they died for. Do you hear them? They fought throughout our history for a myriad of reasons: to mend America's wounded spirit, to restore the strength of the free world, and to free the world's slaves from tyranny, oppression, cruelty, and yes, evil domination. These men and women ask for nothing in return, yet they inspire so much. They ask for only the gratitude of a grateful nation. They inspire the commitment of the values and ideas of which this country was founded. Again, do you hear them? Did you ever wonder how you would say thank you to someone who defends and protects your life? And for our veterans, as I look out into this crowd, do you ever think what was going through the person's mind that came up to you and said, "Thanks for serving"? For a moment, how about the little elderly lady sitting in the airport all by herself, who comes up to you and wants to hug you? Could it be that you remind her of her husband who died in a war many years ago. And she just wanted to say thank you for giving her the chance to hug that uniform that her husband was so proud to die for. Do you hear that? Or how about the father who just wants to buy you lunch? Do you remind him of his son or daughter who is serving so many miles away from home and misses him or her so much? That village, that community, it's you. Have you ever considered why a crying mother holding the hand of a little girl dressed in a pretty pink dress, perhaps she wants to shake your hand because she wants her little girl to realize that her daddy is a true American. Never forget. Never forgotten. Never. But I guess we forget at times that we watch TV and we watch the news. We see that soldiers being attacked. They understand that someone is not coming home. When we ask how we can risk our lives for people we didn't even know, or how can we watch our friends who are close and are like family die around us and still want to fight for this country. They want to know who we are and where the spirit of freedom comes from. They wonder why we do it. The answer I think of, because someone did it for me. They know that we have left our families and our friends to go and fight and protect millions of people again. We don't even know. We risk our lives every day. We fight when we are scared. We push on when we feel there is not hope. And yep, we cry when our brothers and sisters don't come back with us. Maybe that is why thank you is the one phrase that can never be said too much. We live today in the world that began with their service and sacrifice. Today, in many respects, it is a very different world with different challenges and different dangers. All in all, however, it's one of the greater freedom, greater prosperity, one more hopeful than the world that preceded them. Hear them? Thomas Jefferson wrote, "The man who loves his country on its own account, and not merely for its trappings of interest or power, can never be divorced from it, can never refuse to come forward when he finds that she is engaged in dangers which he has the means of warding off." And come forward they did. Those we remember today come from all corners of America, but universally demonstrated all that is good about the heart of America: generosity, compassion, and a willingness to put forth aside their own fears and welfare for the sake of the larger good. They exemplify the American spirit. Our sons and daughters of this nation, each who were stalwart and courageous, honest and compassionate. They personified what is best about America. And that is why it is, I think, the special tribute to those we hope to honor today. That despite all of their great deeds, their triumphs, we find ourselves thinking first, not of their deeds, but of their character. Do you hear that? Each shared commonality of its ideals, driven by an obligation to do right and to do well. Men and women who truly love their country, and for whom words like freedom and democracy were not cliches. and we're willing to make sacrifices for those who look to America for hope and rescue. And so today, when we bask in the warm light of freedom and liberty, we embark to render a proper tribute to our fallen heroes. In its hope, with profound gratitude and deep humility, we salute our nation's heroes and our fallen comrades. George Washington said, "When we assume the soldier, we do not lay aside the citizen, and that is why we cannot forget that once the guns are silenced and the battlefields are empty, there is an aftermath to war. We cannot neglect to remember the broken bodies, the broken minds, and the broken families that require the continued attention of a grateful nation." Do you feel them? As a country, we must remain committed to work diligently and to provide our wounded warriors and their families of our fallen and our missing from all wars our full support. There's a line from a poem that I recall that reads, "When you go home, tell them of us and say for your tomorrow, we gave today." So as we depart this service and this celebration, and as each of us continue our holiday, let us impart upon our family, our friends, our neighbors, a reminder of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who are serving today to ensure our future and our way of life. Go ahead. Ask them to take a moment. Remember those who have made possible this great land of hopes, dreams, and liberty. And from the memory of our honored dead, let us recommit ourselves to never forget the sacrifices of the fallen and their families. And let us commit ourselves to renew our commitment to the values and ideas that have made this nation what it is today, the greatest nation in the world. For our veterans with us today, the next time someone wants to come up to you and give you a hug or shake your hand, remember, you are giving them the hope of American freedom. Heartbeats. Do you hear them? Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.